What's fueling the conflict between Thailand and Cambodia? The neighbours have been exchanging fire along their disputed border. At the heart of the feud is a number of centuries-old Hindu temples. But could it lead to a full-blown war? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Adrian Finighan. It's a conflict with deep colonial roots, and once again it's turned violent. Thailand and Cambodia have long disputed territory on their 800-kilometre border, a line drawn in the early 20th century by the then ruling French authorities. Tensions have flared before, but this latest violence is among the worst in years. It's killed civilians, there have been airstrikes, and thousands have been forced to flee. It comes at a time of political upheaval in Thailand. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra has been suspended by the Constitutional Court, accused of breaching ministerial ethics after a leaked call with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen. In that call, she reportedly referred to Thailand's army chief as her opponent and Hun Sen as uncle. So what's behind the latest flashpoint? And is there a risk of a bigger conflict? We'll speak to our guests shortly, but first a report from Victoria Gatenby.
Artillery attacks and airstrikes have shattered the uneasy calm along the border between Thailand and Cambodia. Each accuses the other of firing the first shots in a region where overlapping territorial claims have sparked violence in the past. The Cambodian government says Thai forces violated its sovereignty by bombing areas close to a number of ancient temples on its side of the border. Both sides claim the sacred sites as their own.
Thai forces hit us and ran, killing our soldiers. They tried to steal our temple, which we've inherited from our ancestors. It is time to retaliate.
But Thailand says the conflict escalated only after one of its soldiers was injured by a Cambodian landmine. The 800-kilometre-long border was drawn in the early 20th century by French colonial authorities. Its exact course remains contested in several areas.
What would make it turn into a war would be that the Cambodian side provokes us and attacks deeper into the Thailand's territory, not limited to just the border area.
More than 100,000 people from both sides have been displaced by the latest fighting. Many are now living in makeshift shelters, unsure when or if they'll be able to return.
It's really bad. I never thought people would be killed like this. Old people attacked with no warning. It's just so violent.
Cross-border trade worth millions of dollars a day has come to a standstill and tensions remain high. Thailand has deployed armed drones to strike targets inside Cambodia, while Cambodian forces have fortified their positions, digging new trenches near some of the disputed religious sites.
What we can say is the Cambodian army stands firm in its position 100% in defending its territory without fear of Thai invaders.
It's not just the border that is tense. Thai politics are in turmoil too. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra was suspended last week after audio of a phone call with Cambodia's former leader Hun Sen was leaked. Critics accuse the Prime Minister of undermining national security. As diplomacy stalls and troops remain on alert, fears are growing that a century-old border dispute could ignite a broader regional conflict. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
Right, let's bring in our guests. From Phnom Penh, we're joined by Youk Chhang, political analyst and director of the Documentation Center of Cambodia. He's also a survivor of the Khmer Rouge killing fields. From Boston, we're joined by Laurie, author and journalist, focusing on Cambodia, Vietnam and Thailand. And from Kyoto, we're joined by Pavin Chachavalpongpun, a former Thai diplomat, a political scientist and professor at the Center for Southeast Asian Studies, Kyoto University in Japan. Gentlemen, welcome to you all. Youk Chhang, let's start with you. Thailand's acting Prime Minister has warned that the cross-border clashes could develop into a full-blown war. What's the view from Phnom Penh on that? Could it come to that? Can either country afford to go to war right now?
I think that the Cambodia's sovereignty is at risk, but not by this disputes border issue. If you look back since 1700s, that Thailand have invested so much in diplomatic developments, economics and resources, and try so much to reclaim the lands that legally belong to Cambodia. Even though they lost all the cases, until 1946, when under U.S. pressure, that all the land have returned to Cambodia, but they keep insisting. So I think that important to predict that Thailand will be coming back, since they've been persisting in the last century, they will come back again. So I think now let's look at this as the opportunity, whether we can stop fighting and come back to the table for negotiation and try to resolve this so that this won't be repeated in the last hundreds of years. I think Cambodia is a proper position that keep insisting that Thailand should meet and should discuss rather than keep continuing sending bombs and shells over Cambodian civilians along the Thai borders. No one can afford to go to war. And I think that it's becoming a threat the way we have seen since yesterday, not just only to Cambodia's sovereignty in the future, but also to the security in the region as well.
Let's throw it to Jim. What do you make of what you just heard there? Does the root of this current escalation in violence lie with historical grievances over undemarcated border areas or a spat between two powerful political dynasties? Or is it a bit of both?
As Youk indicated, this dispute goes back, you could argue, back to the 11th century. There have been a number, two in particular, Buddhist temples involved, Hindu temples actually originally. And years ago, the first great leader of Cambodia, Norodom Sihanouk, confronted this issue and went to the International Court of Justice, which in theory settled it in Cambodia's side. I met Sihanouk a number of times over the years, and he always talked about how Cambodia was squeezed between two more powerful neighbors, the Vietnamese on the east and the Thais on the west. And it's the same situation today, all these years later, complicated by the deteriorating personal relationship between the dynasty that basically rules in Cambodia and a dynasty which is trying to rule in Thailand.
Pavin, do you agree with what you heard just there? To what extent is this current escalation in tension being driven by domestic political dynamics in both countries, in both Thailand and Cambodia?
Yeah, definitely. I think the view from Thailand might be slightly different from Cambodia or from the international community. Yes, definitely. It has some root in territorial conflict, and we all know that it has been ongoing, from 1962, when the two countries took the case of Phnom Penh to the International Court of Justice, which ruled in favor of Cambodia. But then the problem keep coming up in 2003, not the Phnom Penh, but it is another case of the falling out between the two countries that led to the burning of the Thai embassy in Phnom Penh in 2003, and then it came back again in 2008, 2011. So this time, people might like to think that the root cause of it, once again, territorial dispute. But when I said the view from Thailand could be different, because right now, everyone in Thailand seems to be talking about the political fallout between the two dynasties. As you yourself said, the key issue here is basically the fallout between Hun Sen, the senior leader of Cambodia, and former Prime Minister of Thailand, Thaksin Shinawatra. These conflicts seem to escalate the problem between the two countries and sort of brought back territorial conflict, into what we have seen now, armed clashes between the two countries.
Why would that telephone conversation between Thailand's now suspended Prime Minister and Hun Sen, the former Prime Minister of Cambodia, but of course still hugely influential there, have been leaked? In whose interest would it have been to do so?
Well, I think this it has been, to be honest, puzzling. Even from close observer like myself. We cannot deny the fact that the two families are quite close, and Hun Sen has been helping Thaksin quite a lot, especially during his time in exile. Thaksin in the past used Phnom Penh, used Cambodia as a launching pad against his enemy in Bangkok, Thailand. So nobody would have thought that this close relationship, eventually would collapse, and then Hun Sen would eventually leak out telephone call. So that's why I think that at the heart of the problem here, it could be some kind of personal animosity between the two, and which again led to armed conflict and then territorial dispute.
Okay, all right, Pamela, well, let's throw that to you. The question was, why would that telephone call have been leaked? And is there some sort of personal animosity now between Hun Sen and Thaksin Shinawatra?
Well, the phone call, you should look at this as a two separate issue. One is a relationship between the two prime minister, and one is a national interest. So it's been complicated because not just the phone call itself about the dispute or disagreement between the prime minister, former prime minister of the son of Cambodia, and prime minister of Thailand. But I think that when it comes to the national interest, when the Thai commander began to close down the borders and began to threatening the tourists from Cambodia to visit the temple, that's where the conflicts began. That's where the Cambodia reacted to the closure of border. So, but people seem to mix the telephone conversation. It's two separate things. One is a family matter and one is a national interest. But Cambodia has been have this real intent for over 2 centuries. And I think that Thailand would still be coming back in the next 100 of years unless we resolve it today. It's not about 60, it's not about Finighan, it's not about here, it's not about the phone call, but it's about late 1700. And that's when the Thai owned this territory and later were lost in 1946. So they want it back. They want it back, even though knowing that legally that the land belongs to Cambodia. The problem is that Thailand refused to accept the map that recognized by the International Court of Justice. And that is the real root cause, that's the real issue. Had Thailand now agreed with the map, I think this dispute can be resolved quickly.
Jim, what's your take on that, the International Court of Justice and where it comes into this escalation in tension? Cambodia first took the issue to the court in 1963 or early in the 1960s, and again in 2011 when it ruled in Cambodia's favor and handed control of the area around the disputed temple in 2013 to Cambodia. But Thailand refuses to accept the court's jurisdiction over the issue. Has the court inadvertently perhaps inflamed tension with that ruling? Does it have jurisdiction over this temple, this disputed temple?
Well, I think it does. And the court was very clear on this and has, as you indicated, reaffirmed its decision. It goes back to the Sihanouk years in 1962, when Pre-Vihar was the major issue at the time. I would agree with Youk about the territorial problem and the failure of the Thais to accept the jurisdiction of the court. But I would also say this is also a question of stirring up the base politically by two leaders on both sides of the border. Why did Hun Sen release the audio of his conversation with the Thai prime minister? Well, it's because Hun Sen likes to have the upper hand and likes to use social media. And he did so. He embarrassed the prime minister. She was calling him uncle, which as a prime minister, you don't do that, particularly in the in the context of Thai and Khmer society, and she also seemed to belittle the military. And there are two things you don't do in Thai politics if you're clever. You don't belittle the military, and you don't insult the king. And those are two rules that you have to obey if you're going to be successful in Thai politics. And so now you do have this 21st century storm, which is superimposed over this 19th century, or even earlier, 11th century territorial storm.
Okay, Pavel, I'll come to you in just a moment. But Youk, first of all, is Hun Sen fanning nationalism in Cambodia over this issue to shore up his son, the current prime minister?
You know, Cambodia has been through war and genocide. And I think that's important for us to come back together to bring our, a sense of identity and who we are and what we are. And I think there is nothing that's straying at all when we've been so broken because of the Cold War, because of the genocide took place in Cambodia, which in fact that these, with his initiative, perhaps from the outsider look at, he sort of raised this, perhaps he's sort of using to gain also popularity. But internally, I think that we've been divided, we've been broken for so many decades of war. And it's not really what we are aiming at when it comes to this issue. And I think that, and also, he's been in power for 4 decades and has been dealing with Thailand all this year. And the Thai should have perhaps, aware and how to address this, how to deal with Cambodian situation as they has been engaging since the collapse of the Khmer Rouge itself. So I would not, and for us from the other side, that we look at this as the insincere from Thai side, that when they address this, they keep switching. Look, every time when there is incursion, there's a fight, there's any distraction, the border marker is moving. Documentation Center of Cambodia has been observing from Budom J, Battambang, Posat, Kokong, and Thailand, border markers moving around from away from the GIS positioning. And that has been happening since the Khmer Rouge collapse. And that was, it appeared to me that evidence suggested it was quite coordinated by the Thai military to move all these border markers. And Cambodia has been very patient to address this through the MOU signed in 2000. But it's never been resolved. So we feel that the Thai side was not sincere to address this as a peaceful way to address these issues so that most countries can live peacefully.
Okay. Well, Tim, what's your take on that? Is Hun Sen fanning nationalism in order to shore up his son in Cambodia, the current prime minister?
I think we actually have two fathers who are trying to shore up their children, one in Thailand, one in Cambodia. Clearly, Hun Sen wants to leave the stage quietly, though he still controls things behind the scenes, and he wants Hun Manet to take over in terms of being his own man, his own prime minister. And the issue of nationalism, particularly when it involves these ancient temples, has always been used to stir up a national feeling in Cambodia. It was done back in the 1960s. It's been done many times before. I would agree with Youk. This is a territorial issue, and the ties going back to the time when Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge leader, took refuge in Thailand. The ties have always been slowly eroding the position of Cambodia along the border, and I would agree with that. But right now, it is in the interest of neither side to let this go on very long. I was frankly surprised that the Thais have said so far they do not want international mediation. I would think there'd be a role here for the Chinese, who have good relations with all sides, to be a mediator in this. And I suspect it will come down to that in short order, because neither side economically can afford to have this go on. Militarily, of course, Thailand is more powerful than Cambodia, but there is a spirit in Cambodia, I would argue, that may outweigh the military advantage that Thailand has.
Pavin, picking up on what Jim was saying, Thailand's foreign ministry has signalled that it is ready to resolve the crisis diplomatically, but it wants to do it bilaterally. Why? I mean, why doesn't it want a country like China or Malaysia, the current chair of ASEAN, to get involved and help?
Well, I mean, from the viewpoint of Thailand, dealing with Cambodia bilaterally, it would become less complicated because there is already a mechanism, put in place. We are talking about the Joint Border Committee, can serve, to provide a platform for the two parties, to come to the discussion. I think this is basically the viewpoint of the Thai government. So basically not to further complicate the situation. But the question also can go to Cambodia as well. That's why Cambodia was not interested in bilateral talk, but rather go to the United Nations in the first place. Cambodia was quite quick in sending the letter to the UN Security Council. Even before Thailand could send it. I think the two country has to be blamed at one point. If there would be a kind of negotiation or mediator, why the two countries never mentioned ASEAN in the first place? The two countries are member of this regional organization. In bypassing ASEAN, it seems like the two countries do not have faith and trust in this regional organization. As for the, may I go back to the previous question about nationalism? What I meant to say at the beginning was, I think both sides has to be blamed, for flaming nationalism on the part of Hun Sen. Of course, the way in which he used certain terminology, certain discourses, talking about sovereignty, national dignity. Also in Thailand, Thaksin and also military leader also come out to say the same thing. I do not want to take any side of this, but I think, as I said, the two sides has to be blamed for this. I was in Phnom Penh in 2003 during the crisis when the embassy burned down. I did see the flaming of nationalism, on the part of Cambodia, to the point that a lot of Thai people living in Phnom Penh back then was at risk of their life. So I think it continues to be very useful for leader in this region to use nationalism, to achieve domestic purpose.
Youk, the temple has meaning, the temple in the disputed area has meaning to people on both sides of the border, many of whom share a common ancestry. I mean, the two sides have much to gain from a common access agreement and from, the tourism, for a start, that the area could attract. Why are they so unable or unwilling to cooperate over this?
I think because, they've been trying since year 2000. They signed a Joint Borders Committee, but it doesn't work. I think that it's important for both countries to look at the third party. ASEAN can grow to become an organization to resolve all the conflict among themselves in the region. Or, China have offered the same thing with the U.S. government, also offered to facilitate the dispute, because the bilateral doesn't work. It doesn't work. Since 2000, now 2025, it doesn't work. We should try something different. And the only thing that we can think of now is the International Court of Justice. Or I also in favor any facilitation from other country, because it doesn't work. And secondly, because when trust has been broken, it will be difficult to restore among the bilateral negotiation. Also, if Thailand insists for bilateral negotiation, they must stop fighting now. Cambodia has been calling Thailand to stop so that we can talk, but they don't stop. They keep inflating. They keep inflicting around the border area from the northwest all the way to the southwest. They bombed Pravia Temple. They bombed the pagoda. They bombed drop bomb in Tamon Temple Tomb, for example. So they keep moving around the border. And behind this, border marker is moving.
Okay, yeah.
I guarantee you, I did observe this for 5 years.
All right,
Any
Jim,
things like this took place.
Youk, I'm sorry to cut you short, Youk, but we're running out of time. Jim, Youk seems to be painting Thailand here as the aggressor. Is it? Why are the two sides unable to use the temple as a connector rather than disputing its history? They seem to be using this as a weapon for political gain rather than a tool for mutual understanding and cooperation that could benefit everyone.
Well, first of all, both parties do want to stir up their base because their base is what their political survival depends upon. So both sides do the same thing. The second issue is in terms of the mediation effort. If you're the stronger power, which is Thailand in this case, you don't want mediation. If you're the weaker country, as is Cambodia, you do want that intermediary. This has been the rule of international politics forever and ever. So I do think they will eventually come and sit down around a table. I think that the way forward would be either through ASEAN or through China, some kind of mediated discussion. We had that, of course, through the International Court of Justice, but then as we saw, the Thais did not acknowledge that. But I'm somewhat optimistic that this can be resolved in the short term. Both sides need as you pointed out, Adrian, the tourist industry is big for both countries, and they need to get things back to normal.
Pavin, do you agree with that? I mean, Thailand, currently gripped as it is by political instability, the military not happy there at the moment. Do you think this is all going to be over pretty soon?
Yeah, I hope so. I just have two small points in response to your question and the previous discussion. Yeah, I think definitely there's a potential for cooperation. You know, during good time, the two countries has proven that they can work together, and significant historical site like the Pier here, you know, can bring a lot of tourists, and Thailand would also gain a lot from cooperation too. And that's why I say, you know, during their good time, you know, relation like this, profit sharing could really work, right? Only until when there's problems arise like this, I still believe that this is so much so about, as Jim said, the need to protect a political base for each side. That also, you know, becomes sort of spill over into territorial dispute. I just hope that the two sides would come and sit together, because, I mean, last point is that I think both in Thailand and in Cambodia, they continue to accuse one another of, you know, you started first, you know, you are aggressor. I think both sides have to be blamed and then try to find a lasting solution to this.
There, gentlemen, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it. Many thanks indeed, Pavin Chachaval Pongpun, Jim Laurie and Youk Chhang. Thanks for watching. You can see the programme again at any time by going to the website. That's at aljazeera.com. For further discussion, join us at our Facebook page. You'll find that at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And of course, you can join the conversation on X. Our handle there at AJ Inside Story. From me, Adrian Finighan, and the team here in Doha. We'll see you again. Bye for now.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.